I recorded vocals recently in this room and got an amazing result. Really quiet, zero reflections by simply transforming my mix room into a vocal booth. Now, the way I did that is because I designed the room filled with gobos. So if you don't have that situation, I get it. But trust me, you do this long enough, you'll probably have the chance to redesign or buy new stuff at some point. You're going to move to another place. Just keep in mind the idea that by putting gobos everywhere, you could literally redesign your room anytime you want. So when I typically have my mix set up, all the slatted gobos are behind me, which means the slatted gobos are a little more reflective. I put those behind me because the speakers, they shoot back. They're in front of me, the speakers, obviously. They shoot back, they hit those, and they reflect a little more than straight absorption. I like that when mixing, but when I'm going to deal with a vocal and I want to get the cleanest vocal I can, the driest vocal I can, what I basically did was just trade out the spots, move the slatted gobos out of the way, and put these flat, the all absorption panels to box in a section to tighten up a little spot and make it even more dead and dry in this spot behind me. Now, by doing this, I'm accomplishing a few things, okay? I'm putting the singer a little further away from me so that any movement I do on the desk is not going to be picked up. Also, because I am on the back side of the microphone. So most of the time when you're recording a vocalist, you're going to keep the mic in cardioid, depending on what kind of mic you have. But if you have like a U47 or something with the choices where you can go omni or you can go figure eight, keep it cardioid, because what that means is it will get in front of it and nothing behind it. And I'm pretty much behind the mic in this position. So I'm in the best position if I was going to be, breathing in the same room to not get picked up by the mic. Also, by putting them kind of separate and closing them in a bit, any reflection at all, because, the room that I'm in is extremely dead. Ceiling cloud takes up almost all the space, but there's still like little bits of wood here and there that just sort of don't even exist in terms of volume of absorption compared to volume of non-absorption in this room. It's extremely dead. But by boxing it in, it gets even better. Now, this is something you should consider if you're going to make your own vocal booth out of whatever you have for your absorption materials. A guy put on a comment, they're using a mattress. Another guy said they use couch cushions and kind of make set up a thing in the corner. This is what you should realize. You see how I built this? Is basically the absorption's behind the person. The mic is here. You see, I'm going to give you a shot of that, but the mic's here. So the person's facing the way I'm facing. The absorption's behind them. Now, a lot of people do this wrong because they saw that video or something where that thing encompasses, it's like a product that's sold as a pseudo, vocal thing where it's like basically this thing that goes in front of the mic, or it goes behind the mic in front of the singer, and the singer sings into it. In my opinion, that doesn't make any sense. The treatment should be behind the person because that's the way the mic is facing. So that means anything that reflects off that back wall is going to come back and hit the mic. That's the part you need to treat. That's why behind the singer, I didn't want a slatted panel. I wanted straight absorption, and on all sides, also straight absorption, so all the close reflection points won't be sending signal back at the mic, which it will pick up and then make everything sound worse. So behind you, make sure that's where you put, if you have a mattress in your room and that's all, you got a mattress and a bunch of blankets and cushions, how far away are you from the front wall? A lot of people sing into a corner or they get really close to another wall, and that's the worst thing you could do also. Be as far away from the wall in front of you that you're looking at as possible. Far away from that, and put your, the absorptive stuff behind you, and use a mattress, use multiple blankets on top of it if you can. Also, look at what's going on with your ceiling. If your ceiling's a hard surface, just like a regular ceiling, and it's not tall, you may want to sit down when you sing. Get out of really close proximity to it, because if you've got carpet on the floor but a hard ceiling, get closer to the carpet rather than to the ceiling. Things like this, it's just every little bit matters. So, I like standing up when I sing most of the time, but if it sounds worse, try it both ways. I would definitely get down and get a little lower, just on the chair. You don't have to be on the floor with it, but get on the chair. What's on the floor? If the floor is a hard surface, maybe then you want to go double up on the rugs or, blankets, rugs, just like get on top of stuff. Okay. Now, if you're close to a sidewall, put your cushions up, and if you can help it, cushions, blankets, like just overdo what you have as absorption, because that's what you got. And you're lucky if you're doing vocals. You don't have to worry about, a bass, because you won't be able to stop that with this kind of stuff. But like your voice is a lot easier to tame. So once you get all this under control, you're far away, like literally, if you can help it, be far away from all walls if you have no absorption. But if you do have absorption, put it behind you. And don't think so much about boxing yourself in. And don't feel bad if you don't know, or if you did this wrong or backwards. Just keep trying things. You should hear the ridiculous stuff I used to do. Like when I was first starting out, I was under the impression that singing into like a box would be a good idea, which is basically that thing I'm talking about that goes in front of a singer. That's terrible. Don't use that thing. And if you are going to use that, put that behind you. Put it the way the mic's facing, not in front of you. But what I used to do is, like, this is what I did in college. It was crazy. I got one of this Korg D1200 12 track, and I was so psyched on it that, me and the bass player who's on all my stuff, that's where we met, was back in the day. And these other two kids who were in the same floor, we came into my room to record this stuff, and we put the mic in the microwave, and we put towels and stuff in the microwave and we were singing into the microwave. Granted, we're in a dorm, so it was not ideal no matter how you look at it, but I was like, this is the perfect way to isolate. It was probably the worst possible thing I could have done. Honestly, I wouldn't recommend it, but talk about it. We tried ridiculous things. We tried that. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever tried, probably. But we might have sung into a mini fridge next, but the freaking thing was making noise, so we decided let's stick with the microwave. Just make it work, man. And if you could hang stuff from the ceiling, if it's a hard surface, hang blankets, figure something out up there too, because the ceiling, I think not a lot of people think about. You could have a 9-foot ceiling and you're a pretty tall guy, and now you're way too close to the most reflective surface that you're not even thinking about. You're thinking about the rest. Also, your mic matters a lot. Some mics you can really kind of get up in, and then the proximity effect takes over, and it sounds super intimate, and it will kind of get less of the room because it's getting more of you. So that's an option. Dynamic mics usually work better in poorly treated rooms, I find. So anything dynamic's usually better than a condenser. A condenser is going to pick up the most, a large diaphragm condenser. So I don't know if that's necessarily ideal if you don't have a well-treated room. Also, plosives and things. What you'll find, and what I like to do, picture if this is the mic and you're singing into the mic, you want to kind of tilt the mic so it's slightly downward. I find works well. I like that better than upward. So what I'll often do is take the mic and put it a little higher than the person's mouth, but tilt it downward, just having it a little bit off axis and on that little bit of a slant down. So the capsule's here and you're putting it kind of, where when you sing, it will capture it, but it's not capturing it dead on. That often helps with plosives and just getting a little too, air will hit the capsule no matter what, and sometimes harder than others, but that direct center hit is often the worst way to go about it. So experiment with different tilts. If you can see this, it's on a bit of a tilt, and that's my thing. That's what I like to do. This is the mic. I tilt it a little bit so that the capsule is, not dead straight, which would be pointing this way. It's tilted a little bit this way, so it's pointing down slightly. And as a result, I can put it up a little higher, down slightly, and I find that works best. Getting the mic the right height. Also, don't ever, if you could help it, have someone help you do that, because a lot of people think they know where their mouth is and they're totally off. That was the case with me. It's I would always set it too high until, I would look at what it looked like. So if you have a mirror or something, you could put that up to show you where you are, but you kind of want to, if it's too low, you will sound like there's less top end in your voice. And if it's too high, it will sound a little more nasally. So it's that balance of when it's pointed at the right spot, you get the right amount of vocal. So it's like the balance between bass and treble just becomes right. So experiment with what I'm saying, honestly. Place the mic up higher and notice how it just sounds. You lose low end in your voice, which the opposite is what you hear. You hear a little more top end, a little more nasal, a little more mids than the tops. And you want that low end register, you go low. But if you go too low, you lose some top end air also. So I find, because if you think about it, the lower you go, now all of a sudden it's going to be more and more muffled. And once it gets into the sweet spot, now you hear everything. So experiment with the height. It's very similar to speakers in terms of you don't hear the speakers unless they are at the right height. So I go meticulous with it, where I use the level, which is in the other room now, with the laser pointer mounted on the level, and I have a buddy help me get the thing where when the level is set to level, where's the laser pointer pointing? And I go meticulous like that because it's really helpful to dial in exactly where your height is, because you can't predict it by just looking. And if you just put a laser pointer here, but it's pointed up or down or sideways, like you got to make sure it's level. Or you have no idea where your ear line is compared to where the center of the mid dome is, or the center of the tweeter if you got a two-way. So anyway, there's a lot of information here. I hope you get some of it, and I hope it works. Let me know if there's any other things you guys do for tips for microphones and the way you use them and the different room stuff, and we'll go from there. I do have to say, though, before I end, best idea I ever had, gobos everywhere. Because this room is a freaking just whatever I want to do, just slide things around however I want. I get as much or as little treatment as I want. I've really been able to experiment with what I like in terms of, just where the slats go. I have a kind of the staging area room where I just kind of wheel stuff into. I tried a lot less treatment. So I have the ability to untreat it with the drop of a hat. And I also have the ability to overtreat it with the drop of a hat. Or create a vocal booth, or create isolation between an amp cab and somebody singing, or two guys playing acoustic, or whatever. I mean, it becomes a mix room and so many other things when you have the flexibility. So I'm so happy I did that. And, it's just, I had to do a lot of builds that I didn't like before I arrived at this one too. So don't feel like if you don't have a setup that you love at the moment, it could change for you and it could get better and things could, so just kind of make a mental note for next time. It's just the only way you get stuff right, because it's never the first time. So don't feel bad. Questions, comments, answers, throw it in there. I appreciate it. Evan Jaffe, Custom Cut Studios. You guys got this. Take it easy.